بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء وسيد المرسلين حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم إلى قيام يوم الدين. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله، السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله، يا غريب كربلاء رزقنا الله في الدنيا زيارتكم وشفاعتكم في الدنيا والقبر وفي الآخرة. أما بعد، يقول الله في محكم كتابه وقرآنه المجيد وقوله الحق: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ووصينا الإنسان بوالديه إحسانا حملته أمه كرها ووضعته كرها وحمله وفصاله 30 شهرا حتى إذا بلغ أشده وبلغ 40 سنة قال رب أوزعني أن أشكر نعمتك التي أنعمت علي وعلى والدي وأن أعمل صالحا ترضاه وأصلح لي في ذريتي إني تبت إليك وإني من المسلمين. أولئك الذين نتقبل عنهم أحسن ما عملوا ونتجاوز عن سيئاتهم في أصحاب الجنة وعد الصدق الذي كانوا يوعدون. والذي قال لوالديه أف لكما أتعدانني أن أخرج وقد خلت القرون من قبلي وهما يستغيثان الله ويلك آمن إن وعد الله حق فيقول ما هذا إلا أساطير الأولين. أولئك الذين حق عليهم القول في قد خلت من قبلهم من الجن والإنس إنهم كانوا خاسرين. ولكل درجات مما عملوا وليوفيهم أعمالهم وهم لا يظلمون. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We will be going into our 6th night of discussions of what happens after death. And inshallah tonight the topic will be on the scales of deeds, also known as the mizan or the mawazin. Last night we left off, of course not a comprehensive journey into the Ma'ad or even Yawm al-Qiyamah, but we looked yesterday at one of those stations, one of those components, which was the Book of Deeds. Tonight, inshallah, we will be going on from that station to another station which is called Scales. You'll find that there are different positions for the Ahlul Bayt when it comes to different positions or different stations of Yawm al-Qiyamah. You find that on the level of the books of deeds, they are witnesses, but in certain stations such as the scales, and tomorrow night inshallah we'll discuss this further when we talk about the Sirat and its stations, that the Ahl Bayt are not witnesses, that they are more shufa'a or shafiq, intercessors. Basically, they will come in, and wherever there is some lack, they will vouch for you and ask for leniency or something of that nature, right? That's what shafa'a means. So, in our discussion tonight of what exactly is happening with the mizan and the mawazin, as well as the mawzoon, the other singular form for mawazin, the plural being mawazin, we're going to be talking first and foremost from the ayah of Surah Al-A'raf, ayah number 8 and 9, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَالْوَزْنُ يَوْمَئِذٍ الْحَقِّ. Now, here, we want to ask the question, which Mufassir group got it right? Mufassir group A, which is the majority of even the Shīʿā exegetes, as well as probably every single exegete, at least the ones that I've read so far, from Ahl Sunnah, they will say that this wasn't over here in this ayah, Surah Al-A'raf, the 7th chapter, verses number 8 and 9. Brothers who are sitting over there in the other gymnasium, please come and join us over here. Thank you so much. The wasnn't over here, according to that first group, is this idea of an infinitive. English grammar, what this basically means, what it amounts to, is an idea. And basically, you probably have seen this in translations, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's words are translated as, the weighing that day will be true. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with this translation, but is there an alternative that maybe gives us a couple more clues of what happens on Yawm al-Qiyamah? That's what we find when we look at a group of mufassirin, namely, Allama Tabatabai in Al-Mizan fi Tafsir al-Quran. Tabatabai, by the way, just died in 1980, so very contemporary, very recent. His student, for example, Ayatollah Jawadi Amuli, also agrees with him on this. His student, for example, Allama Muhammad Hussaini Tehrani, also agrees with him on this. And this is the one that I am going to be putting forward to you as the more correct opinion. What is that? It's that al-wazn over here is not an idea, rather it is an actual thing, it is a physical object. So if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying over here in Surah Al-A'raf, وَالْوَزْنُ يَوْمَئِذٍ الْحَقِّ, the wazn that day, first and foremost, is a physical thing called haqq. To give you an example, many of us probably over here are from the subcontinent, right? Either from Pakistan or from India. Maybe we've even visited. Maybe the rest of us are from Iraq. If not, then Iran. And if not, if you just so happen to be, a convert or someone from, here in America, first and foremost, ahlan wa sahlan, welcome. But the people who I addressed in the first category, Pakistanis, Indians, Iranians, Iraqis, if you've ever been to your home country, you probably know that when you have groceries to go and do, then maybe if you want some flour or rice or whatever it is, then there are, let's say, plates of a scale. Like even when they have the usual Google Images results of what does a scale look like, there's two plates, right? And they'll, one will go down, one will go up, right? Well, they have those things in Iran, Iraq, Pakistan. And you say you want a certain amount of flour, you want a certain amount of rice, right? They go and say, okay, they go and take out the weight, which corresponds to how much you want, 5 kilograms, 10 kilograms, 5 pounds, 10 pounds, whatever it is. And they'll go and put that on one plate of the scale. They call this thing wazn. On the other side, they'll go and put your flour, your rice, your potatoes, tomatoes, whatever it is that they're trying to weigh. And once they've put enough into that other side, and over here, it matches with the side that is called that stone, or that weighing standard, that unit of 5 kilos, 5 pounds, whatever it is. Then basically the weighing is done. They say, okay, here, take this, give me my payment. And basically, have a nice day. That thing that they put on the other side, that's also called wazn. Okay. So if that could also be called wazn, then what do we understand weighing to be? Do we understand it that on the two sides of the plates, actually I'll do it this way. Let's do an experiment over here. By show of hands, how many of you think that when we talk about the scales of deeds, that on one side will be good deeds, on the other side will be bad deeds, and whichever one weighs more, close, that's it, that's where I'm going, right? If good deeds are heavier, I'm going to Jannah. If it's bad deeds are heavier, I'm going to Jannah. By show of hands, how many of you think that this is what's going to happen? Okay, Shaq. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Raise up high. That way I don't have to go, oh, is that a hand or is this guy like, just. Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. So now, if that is what our understanding is, but the Imams and the Prophet have something else to say, that this is not an infinitive, this is an actual item, called haqq, that will be put on one side of the scale, and our deeds will be put on the other, then we have to kind of break down this idea of good versus bad, and why that's not possible, and why this one is the actuality. First and foremost, we have ayahs in Surah Al-Qari'ah, for example. Many of you have probably read them, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will go and say, for example, فَأَمَّا مَنْ ثَقُلَتْ مَوَازِينُهُ فَهُوَ فِي عِيشَةٍ رَاضِيَةٍ وَأَمَّا مَنْ خَفَّتْ مَوَازِينُهُ فَأُمُّهُ هَاوِيَةٌ وَمَا أَدْرَاكَ مَا هِيَ نَارٌ حَامِيَةٌ. Maybe many of you have even memorized these ayahs, right? Here we see that the one whose deeds and his scales are heavier, then we're going to let this person have an enjoyable life, basically Jannah. If their deeds are too light, then they go to Jahannam. Whenever they asked Imam Ali alayhi salam, they said yes. He would go and say, yes, this is weighing of good and evil deeds, but it's not evil deeds like bad deeds, Shīʿā. It's good and lesser good deeds. Interesting. Okay. Then, for example, we have a prophetic hadith where, for example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, or I'm sorry, not Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the messenger will go and say that good deeds have weight based on a standard, and bad deeds are absolutely weightless. They don't have a weight assigned to them. They're light. Okay? So now I want you to imagine the following scenario. For those of you who raised your hands, thank you for participating in my experiment. If you think that good deeds are on one plate and bad deeds are on the other, and they're going to be weighed against each other, but now we've known that bad deeds are always light, then couldn't you potentially go and say, well, I committed murder, I committed, corruption in the earth, I committed X, Y, and Z kinds of bad deeds, but they're all light. Think of the lightest thing you can and put that in your imaginary scale. Let's say it's a feather. Even if you have 1,000,000 feathers, but the good deed is what actually weighs something. So imagine, for example, those of you who go to the gym, think of like, 1,000-pound dumbbell, right? Put that on the other side, where the good deeds are. Are those 1,000,000 feathers ever going to outweigh that one dumbbell? Ever? Yes or no? No, of course not, right? So then why don't we just go and put everybody in Jannah? Because always the good deeds are heavier, and they're always going to outweigh the light bad deeds. Does that make sense? I mean, it makes sense if we keep on going with this good versus bad paradigm, but it doesn't make sense to just go and put everybody into paradise. I mean, at the end of the day, Imam Hussein and his companions, they deserve Jannah, whereas Yazid and his army, they deserve to be as far away from Jannah as possible. And probably into the depths of hell, and as far away into the depths of hell as possible. So now, how do we understand what wasn't al-haqq in this equation? We understand now that, okay, on one side we'll go and have this item, the standard, the unit by which everything else will be weighed. And on the other side you'll have your deeds. Which deeds though? Does it make sense if the wazn is haqq? And false deeds, deeds that are bad, are batil. What does batil have to do in common with haqq? Nothing. This is why, by the way, brothers and sisters, the Imams have told us that bad deeds won't even be weighed. It's only good deeds that will be weighed. Actually, brothers and sisters, for those of you who maybe are in leadership, if one of you could just go and turn the volume up a little bit, because the recitation from the Arabic side is starting to get a little bit too much. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Let's have a second louder salawat in honor of Bibi Fatima Zahra. A third louder salawat in honor of the Sahib al-Hasri of Zaman of our time. So now, if it's not going to be good deeds versus bad deeds, and it's going to be good deeds versus this wazn, this standard, and we already said that if it doesn't have too much in common with that wazn, meaning a bad deed of batil, of falsehood, then it won't even be weighed. Meaning, even the good deeds, the more it has in common with that wazn, with that standard, the more it will weigh, the more heavy it will be. So what exactly are these mawzun, these mawazin, these wazns? What are they, or who are they? Here we find hadith, many hadith, from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as well as the imams of Ahl Bayt, that the wazns that day, those items that will be put on the scale, are the prophets and their successors. So meaning, Imam Ali alayhi salam will be put on one side of the scale, and people at his time will be put on the other side of the scale, and their deeds, which we saw yesterday, are not actual writings, they're not a video thing, they are actually you redoing those deeds. You will see yourself actually redoing those deeds, right? And for those of you who were not here yesterday, please refer to the majlis that we gave yesterday, because we're not going to, have time to go and repeat everything. So if that's how it is, if the deeds themselves, when they were presented to us in the book, are ourselves actually, we are reliving ourselves doing those good deeds and bad deeds, then now that deed will be brought up onto the scale and compared against that imam of our time. Meaning, brothers and sisters, all of us will be compared against who? Not Rasulullah, not Imam Ali alayhi salam, the imam of our time, Sahib al-Asr Zaman. Meaning, our prayers will be compared against his prayers. Our fasts will be compared against his fasts. Our hajj will be compared against his hajj. Our khums will be compared against how he taught us to do khums in his time, for example, right? All of these things that the imams taught us, this is why they are our sunnah. We follow their footsteps, and then at the end of the day on the scales, we're going to be asked, well, how well did you follow that sunnah? Literally, how well did you follow that sunnah? Let's see how he prays, and let's see how you pray. This is why, brothers and sisters, our brothers and sisters in Ahl Sunnah, they do not necessarily accept to the level that we do the 12 imams. So potentially, maybe they are compared against the imam of our time. Maybe they are compared against the one who they learned and took as an infallible, Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which just so happens to be the hardest standard of all. Rasulullah did every single mustahab act in the book, such that not even the imams could come up to his standard of practicing Islam. Rasulullah is at the very top of the hierarchy, of the food chain, right? Now we have to ask the question, academically speaking, did Rasulullah ever cross his hands in prayer or no? If he didn't, and our brothers and sisters do, that's a dissimilarity between the standard and you who are trying to follow the standard. And so that is a point minus, according to us. You who, for example, let's say, recite Ameen loudly in your salahs after Fatiha. Did Rasulullah, yes or no, do it? Or is this just blind following of whoever came and gave you fiqh? If Rasulullah didn't do it, we're not going to be putting Abu Hanifa and Shafi'i and Malik ibn Anas and Ahmad ibn Hanbal, we're not going to be putting them up on the scale. We're going to be putting the prophets and their successors. So Rasulullah, did he himself ever recite Ameen? If not, this is a point minus. The more dissimilarities, the less it weighs. This is why, brothers and sisters, let's let's use this opportunity to, myself and all of us, silence our phones so that we don't have any more interruptions for the rest of the majlis. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. This is why, brothers and sisters, when we come to the scales of deeds, and we talk about repetition, I hinted in previous nights that we'll be coming to that discussion of repetition. Why do we have to repeat so much? Maybe some of us don't pray, maybe we don't pray regularly. It's okay. If you just start praying, that's even a good step in the right direction. Eventually, inshallah, you'll get to that point where you're praying all 5 times a day prayer. For those of you who do pray all five times a day prayer, why? Perhaps one of the reasons is so that the ayah of Surah Al-Ahqaf, the 46th Surah, ayah number 19, which was the last ayah that I just recited at the beginning of this majlis, can be effectuated. What does that ayah say? It says in ayah number 19, وَلِكُلٍّ دَرَجَاتٍ مِّمَّا, or I'm sorry, not even that one. That one we'll come back to a little bit later. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in ayah number 16, أُولَٰئِكَ الَّذِينَ نَتَقَبَّلُ عَنْهُمْ أَحْسَنَ مَا عَمِلُوا وَنَتَجَاوَزُ عَنْ سَيِّئَاتِهِمْ فِي أَصْحَابِ الْجَنَّةِ. The people who did this repetitive action, this repetitive deed, how many of you know a scholar, or maybe even just a righteous person? They've been to Hajj once, but then they go again. They've been to Umrah, but then they go to Umrah again. They've done ziyarah, but then they go to ziyarah again. They go and they pray. They fast again. They'll fast a mustahab fast in Rajab, for example, or Dhul Hijjah, or wherever, and they'll do it again the next year. Whether they know why they're doing it or not, here is where the answer comes. One of the possible reasons, or one of many reasons. That reason being that when you do repetitive acts, perhaps in one of them you had perfect attentiveness in your salah. And you were completely there in the zone and you were connected with Allah. Brothers and sisters, let's all stand up and come a little bit closer to the front. Sisters, if you guys could also get a little bit closer, because the trend has been that sisters tend to attend these more than the brothers. Okay, so then if we're repeating these deeds day in and day out, maybe, for example, my last salah, I was not as slow and methodical as I could have been, but my attention was there. A couple of months later, what I should do, and what all of us should do, is come back to it and now start to critique ourselves and improve on what we have already improved. Meaning, for example, I was already attentive. Now, let me go and learn what I actually am saying. Let me go and try to learn the Arabic meaning. Just go and read a translation of what exactly am I reciting in my prayer, so that I know what I'm saying to Allah. Maybe a month or two after that, I can go and increase and make my salah even better quality and more matching with Muhammad and Al Muhammad's salah by, for example, doing some mustahabbat. Maybe after that, I can come and I can, fix up the mechanics of my prayer. For example, one very simple example, I go and say Allahu Akbar, and then I finish saying Allahu Akbar, then from a stationary movement, I go and start moving into the ruku. Then I come all the way back, and when I'm finally stationary, then I say Sami Allahu liman hamidah. Then I go, I completely finish saying the words Allahu Akbar, and then I start going into sujood, right? Maybe some of us are already starting to move when we start saying Allahu Akbar, right? These are small things that we can start to fix as the months go by. As we keep on adding these beautiful techniques and improving our craft and improving our salah, then what's going to happen? Our salah is going to match more with Sahih al-Asr wa. But maybe you do a perfect namaz of Maghrib and you have the mechanics down pat somewhere down your life. Allah will go and take the ahsan from that, He'll take the best parts of that. Then from another part of your Maghrib salah, He'll go and take the best parts of your recitation. Maybe from another part, He'll take the best parts of your khushu and your emotional connection in salah. Maybe in another part, He'll keep on taking and constructing until you have one salah that's put onto the scale of salat al-Maghrib, and now let's compare that to Sahib al-Zamans. Or if you lived at the time of Imam Sadiq, Imam Sadiq's. Or if you lived at the time of Prophet Sulaiman, Prophet Sulaiman's. Whoever was your prophet or legislator at that time, that's what you'll be compared to. So now, if that's how we have to do it, and bad deeds aren't even weighed, because there's no use to weighing it, because let's be honest, we don't have that much time. Hey, let's go and weigh what does 0 mean. We don't have that kind of time to waste. And we also don't have that kind of time to waste to go and start weighing each and every single maghrib. That's why all the maghribs are compiled into one. That's why all the ishas are compiled into one. And the more good deeds that you do, whether it's charity, whether it's prayer, whatever it is, the more good deeds, the heavier your scale will be. Now I want to talk about how gravity plays into this equation. See, brothers and sisters, gravity here in dunya has a certain function, right? Where, for example, if something on those plates weighs more, it's going to be pulled down. Maybe for those of you who are too young, you don't know how gravity works, but there's something called gravitational pull. Gravitational pull basically is the center of the earth and its mass pulling things down towards it. The heavier something is, the more it's pulled to the center of the earth. That's the center of gravity. Okay? Now, if that's how things work over here, how come we keep on seeing in the Quran ayat, for example, like Surah Al-Fatir, 35th Surah, ayah number 10, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِلَيْهِ يَسْعَدُ الْكَلِمُ الطَّيِّبُ, that to him rise slowly those good intentions, those good words that you did, but they'll rise slowly. وَالْعَمَلُ الصَّالِحُ يَرْفَعُهُ. But if a good deed also accompanies it, and it comes along with it, meaning that you didn't just talk the talk, you walked the walk. You actually acted on what you believed. It wasn't just lip service. You didn't just say Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then your actions were more like Yazid, right? If you were able to go and combine the two, Iman and Amal al-Salih, then guess what? That will shoot it up even higher. Well, that's a whole entire discussion in and of itself. What I want you to focus on in this ayah is the word up. Up, right? Okay. Good actions will go and shoot it up further. Even without it, what do the good words, good niyyah, good intentions, what does it do? It slowly still goes which direction? Up. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Mujadilah that those of you who have ilm will be raised in higher and higher darajat. Again, direction is which way? Up or down? Up. We have other, hadith, verses that basically go and show us that the better something is, it'll go higher up. Okay? And we also know that even if it's the size of a mustard seed, Allah will go and reward it. So now, these small little things, even if they're the size of a good deed of a mustard seed, or even an atom's worth of good, so it's a zalzala, right, which we quoted yesterday, فَأَمَّا مَنْ the ayah is مَنْ يَعْمَلْ خَيْرًا يَرَى وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ شَرًّا يَرَى, right? Which basically, if you do even an atom's worth of good or an atom's worth of evil, you will see it. That atom's worth of good, how much does it weigh? What is it going to do in terms of going up or down? Here in dunya, your gravitational pull was down towards the center of the earth. Over there, you don't care about the earth. The earth is like either destroyed or somewhere else. There's a new center of gravity, brothers and sisters. And it was given in that Surah Al-Fatir, ayah number 10. إِلَيْهِ يَسْعَدُ الْكَلِمُ الطَّيِّبُ وَالْعَمَلُ الصَّالِحُ يَرْفَعُهُ. That good words ascend to him, as well as good deeds that push it farther up towards him, meaning the source of all good. Al-Haq, one of the 99 names of Allah is Al-Haq, the source of all truth. The source of all good is Allah. Meaning the better that your deed is, the more it's attracted to that center of gravity, but it's now up, not down. So things that are heavier that day will be floating. Right now, if you go and say that something's heavier, is it going to float or is it going to sink? Sink. The lighter something is here in this dunya, it'll float, not sink. There, however, the more heavy it is, the higher it'll float up. And here is where I wanted to go and bring up that ayah of Surah Al-Ahqaf, ayah number 19, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلِكُلٍّ دَرَجَاتٌ مِمَّا عَمِلُوا. Everyone will have a rank, a station, based on how they act. Now we know how. Your rank goes higher and higher based on how heavy your deeds were. The heavier the deed, the higher it floated. Meaning if your deed was only as heavy as level number 5 of Jannah, that's where it'll stop floating. For example, if your deed was only as good as level number 6 of Jannah, that's where it'll float to. If it was good as level number 7 of Jannah, that's where it'll float to. It won't go any higher. If you had shortcomings, if you weren't doing your namaz the way how the Imam taught you, you were just, maybe for example, absent-minded, you were this, you were that, then obviously there's going to be holes. Yes? And we'll talk about Shīʿā tomorrow, where the help of the Imams will come in and save those shortcomings. But who is even eligible, that's something that we'll have to look at tomorrow. But now that we've defined where these deeds go, what happens to bad deeds? If bad deeds have no weight, where do they end up going? Well, if we define good deeds as the heavier they are, the closer they go back to Allah, it only makes sense that bad deeds, the worse they are, the farther away from Allah they go. The more distance from Allah is created. And what's distance from Allah, brothers and sisters? Jahannam, hellfire. So Jahannam is not a one-size-fits-all, where the person who cheated on an exam gets the same exact punishment as Fir'aun. No. It's commensurate with the level of deeds that that person did. And also, Imam Ali teaches us that the more that a deed is repeated, even if it's a small sin, that will eventually be tantamount to a big sin. So don't look at the size of the deed. Look instead at the one who you're committing against. Another saying of the Hadith. Yes? Meaning what? Meaning you do something so small, but you keep on redoing that. We mentioned a couple of nights ago that it becomes your second nature, right? It becomes your disposition. If it's your disposition to keep on just doing that sin, it's going to be very, very hard to save yourself from that lightening your scale. And you want as heavy of a scale as possible. You want it to match as much with the Prophet and his family as possible. So if you have those things that are going to be negative weights, you either want to do tawbah from now, or you want to, for example, we were talking about good deeds versus habits versus disposition. A good deed can also be just staying away from harm. Allah Ta'ala sees if you're struggling with a bad deed. He knows if it's an addiction. He knows if it's this or that. But it just takes one time to say no, compounded with another time when you say no, another time when you say no. Today, earlier in the day, I was just having a discussion, and it seems that even in mental health, the literature supports the statement that it takes 6 to 8 weeks to develop a habit. Islamic literature says 40 days. This is why so many of our du'as, you need to go and do them for 40 days before they become a habit. Similarly, with staying away from a deed, this is, by the way, the philosophy of why we fast. When you're fasting, you're staying away from things that aren't even haram. Food, drink, intimacy, smoking, for example, volunteering, fasting. So if you're able to stay away from it for that amount of time, and inshallah, you don't go and do it iftar. Some people I know, they maybe even do their iftar with a cigarette. But if you can stay away even after iftar, and you can stay away for 30 days, stay away for 10 more days, that'll become a habit. Now you have a streak. Now it's become something that your neurons are able to go and build neural synapses with each other. Yes? And if you have a bad habit of a neural synapse, you need to go and be able to start breaking. Remember, previous couple of nights, we've been giving the example of concrete, and that disposition, if it becomes concrete, we need a jackhammer to really break it up. It's not hard to go and leave a bad deed if it's an atomic, atom-sized bad deed. It's easy to leave that. It's harder if it becomes a habit. For example, maybe some of you, when you were young, you maybe, chewed on your nails. But eventually, with a little bit of practice, you were able to leave it. But a disposition is much, much harder to leave. We see this with the perpetrators in the side of Umar ibn Sa'd and Ibn Ziyad and Yazid, where their actions were so ingrained into them that they couldn't leave them. So, brothers and sisters, we need to go and take these philosophical or Islamic prescriptions, where Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala has given us 40 days, and try to go and build good habits, substitute bad habits with good habits. For example, instead of hanging out with friends who you know always bring you towards badness and bad deeds or bad environments, if you can't at least change your friends, at least go and encourage those friends, hey, let's go to somewhere else where it's not so much of a haram environment. If you have even more willpower, start changing your friends. If you have even more willpower, start changing those friends. This is all based on how much you can handle. But brothers and sisters, Muḥarram is that revolutionary time where we need to go and reform ourselves. If we have a certain bad deed, this is where muraqabah and muhasabah come in. We need to be able to go and do hisab of ourselves. We need to be able to go and hold ourselves to account before we are held to account on the scales. If we're not going to do it ourselves, who do you think is going to come and do it for us? You think an angel is going to come down from the skies with those little math things, those abacuses? It's like, hey, you have like 10 good deeds, and you have one bad deed. You should really focus on... No. It's you who has to go and focus every single day on what you've done. This is why the Imams go and say, woe to those. What does woe mean? It means destruction for those, man. Like, woe tidings on those whose tens are outnumbered by the ones. Or whose tens are outweighed by the ones. Meaning, for a good deed, even for thinking of it, you get a deed. For doing it, you get 10 good deeds. But for a sin, you don't even get a bad deed if you're thinking about it. You only get one sin if you actually go and do it. And how easy is it when the Imams have gone and told you that for you guys, the believers, there is a 7-hour period where the angels don't even go and write down those bad deeds. They say, you know, maybe he'll have some sharam, some like, you know, what would be the English translation of sharam? Some shame, you know? If you have some shame of what you did, and you go and just do tawbah, we won't even write it down for you. But if 7 hours pass, and you still haven't even gone towards the door of tawbah, then yes, it will be written down for you. Then woe to those whose tens are outweighed by the ones. What does that mean? It means that those sins are still able to go and outnumber those good deeds. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Let's have another louder salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Third, louder salawat in honor of Imam Hussein. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So now, if that's what we have to go and do for ourselves, just simple recollections of what we did during the day. It's going to become too hard if we leave it towards the end of the week. It's going to become too hard if we go towards the end of the year. We don't have that good memory. This is why we're taught about muraqabah and muhasabah. Muraqabah, keep on going one step further. Keep on taking one extra step. You know, there's one motivational speaker called Ed Milet, right? He has a book that was just released like last year where he said, the power of one more. What's the power of one more? That if he goes to the gym, even if he's told himself he's going to do 50 reps, he's like, my expectations of myself are that I'm going to go and do 51. If I told myself that I'm going to go and do 10 miles on the treadmill, I'm going to go and do 11 miles. Because I just expect one more. Because if you always expect one more, then guess what the reward is going to be? Not like those people who just did 10 miles and then they're like, oh my God, thank God I finished with it. If you always have that attitude of one more, just one more, then in your kindness, in your volunteerism, you'll come and you'll have that attitude that, you know what, maybe this isn't my job to go and pick up the food after the majlis. But if I just do one more good deed, one more good deed, one more good deed, even if it's just that small, goes that up. You want as much weight on your side of the scale so that you can look like Imam Ali and Imam Sajjad and all these Imams. After Karbala, Imam Sajjad alayhi salam was once seen with one of his companions in the middle of the night with a sack of flour, going and distributing flour even to his enemies. Gets off the horse. Companion goes in there and says, he sees, Ya Ibn Rasulullah, what are you doing? Sees him kicking a rock off of the road. He says, what are you doing, Ya Ibn Rasulullah? You have bigger and better things to be worried about. He says, this is a good deed, why should I not do a good deed? Imam Rida alayhi salam, when he was the Wali al-Ahd, he was the crown prince of Ma'mun. You know, back at that time, they used to have public baths. They didn't have showers in everybody's houses, so you had to kind of go into a public shower and a public bath, and this is where, you know, baths would be a lot of times. Imam Rida goes to one of these, and another person who sees that he's new in town, he just asks him casually, hey, can you massage my shoulders? The Imam is not only just the Imam of the time, he's also the crown prince of the Abbasi caliph of the time. The Imam doesn't go and complain or anything, he just goes and, fine, whatever. Goes and gives him a massage. People who are there, they see this, and they wait for him outside. They wait for the Imam, the people who are the followers of the Imam, and others, they wait for that person. Oh, you, what have you done? Do you know who you just asked for a massage? You asked for a massage from the crown prince, the second, basically the vice president of the country, of the Muslim empire. You asked from him a massage? You couldn't think of anybody better? He comes and runs to the Imam. He's like, I'm so sorry, I didn't know who you were. I'm so sorry. I never seen your face. This is my first time. He says, it's not a problem. It's okay. Don't worry about it. No harm, no foul. But the followers of the Imam, they come and ask him the same thing. Why did you do it? You could have just said no. He said, because being at the service of a believer is something that Allah loves. And I want, even if it's a small deed, that I did not leave it out. If someone came and asked me, if a Muslim was in need and I could have given something, I want to be able to give it. And brothers and sisters, what about you guys in these nights when you are asking your hajat? You think the Imam is not listening? You think that the Imam is unaware? No, this is not our belief. Our belief is that the Imam is aware, present, watching, knows what we need, and is capable of going to Allah and asking on our behalf. This, as I mentioned a couple of times in the past couple of nights, this is a journey that you're not supposed to just take by yourself. This is a journey where you have help, where you have the help of Muhammad and Muhammad. This is a journey where you have that divine help. You can go and ask dua, Ya Allah, help me. I can't stay away from this sin. And Allah will answer you. The Imams will answer you. And He'll answer you quickly. But it's just, are you making that dua sincerely or no? So I've given you some practical as well as spiritual tips of how to go and get that connection and get closer and closer to Allah. I'll leave you with this couple of hadiths, and then we'll conclude, inshallah. The Imams say that he who does not perform, brothers who are over there in the other gym, please come and join us over here. Thank you so much. And those of you who are over here, please let's also come a little bit closer. And then we'll have a salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Another louder salawat in honor of being Fatima Zahra. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So the Imams come and tell us that he who does not do muraqabah and muhasabah, meaning he does not come and just see what he does and feel that he could always do more. Feel that he could always do more. And then implement that. And on the other side, muhasabah, he comes and takes account of what he's done during the day and says, I could have done that better. What was the cause of me doing that? Was it a friend that took me to the wrong place? Was it my inability to say no? Am I that weak that I can't even say no, that if someone just comes and says, hey, let's go do this, I say, yeah, let's go. What's the cause of me doing X, Y, and Z sins? If you don't do muraqabah and muhasabah, the Imam says you're not one of us. Our true Shīʿās, they are mindful of their entire day. What good did I do? What better could I do? What bad did I do? What was the cause of that bad? And here, every single majlis that has to do with this, every single book that has been written about this always comes to the point of salah. Salah, brothers and sisters, is the pillar of our religion. If we don't pay attention to our salah, then This is the first thing that we will be asked about on the Day of Judgment. Now we've already said that our salah has to match up with the imams. But what if I told you that on his deathbed, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam gathered all of his family members and said, tell our Shīʿā that for the mustakhif as-salah, the one who is inattentive, the one who takes his salah lightly, our shafa'ah will not reach them. It will not be able to come to them, come to their help. What does this mean? Here, we don't have enough time. It's not the purpose of these majalis. You will have to go to a course or some other mawlanas to go and understand what are the multifacets of mustakhif as-salah. Some mawlanas may go and tell you, you need to be attentive. Other mawlanas will go and tell you that the mechanics need to be there. All of these things, there are different layers of the cake. You can't have one without the other. You can't just be completely connected and you're doing backflips and cartwheels and you call that a salah. Salah has a certain form. You need to come and perform the correct salah. So, brothers and sisters, my final advice over here would be take a simple course on just how to go and do your wajib and muḥarram. And stay away from your muḥarram, of course not your muḥarram. Go and see what your salah is supposed to look like. How are you supposed to recite? How are you supposed to keep your hands in sujood? When are you supposed to go into ruku? After the Allahu Akbar, before the Allahu Akbar? These are all different kinds of things that slowly and surely you can come towards a better salah. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, I don't want anybody to come, because we have two different types of diseases within the Shīʿā. One that says, oh, see, we'll never get to that point of salah. What's the point? We'll never even get shafa'ah. Better not even go and pray. And the other side who comes and says, forget about it. I don't need to go and do salah. Salah is too hard. It's got too many rules here, nitty-gritty, hair-splitting rules. Ahlul Bayt will just take care of me. Both of these sides are wrong. We need to come to the middle. What's the middle? The middle is that if we come with an attitude of muraqab, always trying to keep on one-upping ourselves, bettering ourselves, that is what we need to come towards with towards the Ahlul Bayt and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is qalbin salim. إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. With a pure and sound heart. How do you have a pure and sound heart? Because you know that you tried. How do you know that you tried? You kept on improving on yourself. You didn't ever think that this was enough. So maybe you, for example, learned a few rules here and there, and now you went and started redoing some of your prayers. You started improving on your prayers. Maybe you went and taught a younger brother and sister who's not praying yet, hey, watch out for these small mistakes. Watch out for these mistakes in your wudu. Make sure that you do these du'as during your wudu. They just enhance your wudu. These small mistakes might void your wudu. We have to know what we're doing. We can't just come and make up our own actions. These kinds of things, if we just start doing them, forget about the end goal, whether our salah actually looks like Imam Sadiq's or not, whether it looks like Imam Zaman's or not. The point is, based on what you knew, we acted on it. And here, brothers and sisters, I want to give you one of the most important hadith that you could ever know. If you take nothing away from the rest of these nights, take this, please. Where Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, sallu alayhi wa sallam. We have some brothers who are asking if there's room. Please, if we can, I see some room over here. Please, let's move a little bit closer. We're almost done. Let's give some of these brothers the room that they need so that they can sit down, inshallah. Brothers, we have some room over here. It's not necessary that, within 5-10 minutes, the friends will be reunited, inshallah, right? So just come over here and, we don't have to go and just be over there. So now, that hadith that I promised you, that if you take, this is one of the most important hadith. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says this, our scholars say this, echoing Ahlul Bayt. What is it? It is this, that if you act on what you do know, Allah will teach you what you do not know. Meaning if you know right now, maybe in my recitation of Surah Al-Fatiha, my recitation sounds maybe something like غَيْرِ الْمَغْزُوبِ عَلَيْهِمْ وَلَا الظَّالِمِينَ. Yes? then if at least just on focusing on this letter Dad, and I come and I just focus on this, and that's all I know that I have to improve on, slowly but surely Allah will teach you more when you're ready. He'll teach you in piecemeal. And He'll get you to the heights of the scholars. And He'll get you to higher and higher stations. How is it supposed to be recited for those of you who are asking? It's supposed to be recited صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Yes? This is how it's supposed to be recited. Now, if, for example, you're trying your best and you're crying in salah, you're like, y'all, I'm trying, but I just can't fix my tongue so that it gets over there, Allah sees that as well. This is why when we get to the mawazeen, and even the wazn, with Imam Ali alayhi salam, there are multiple different variables that come into our account, to our rescue. Some maybe did not have a father figure to come and teach them the right actions. Some people maybe did not have the right books. Right now with the advent of the internet, it's just as easy to go and get right information as it is to get wrong information. Maybe you were acting on wrong information. All of these things are taken into account. Maybe you were poor and you couldn't afford a course that would have taught you otherwise. But another person, he was rich, he could have easily afforded a $50 course just to go and learn how to finally go and do salah, or just go and do a quick 5-minute search on YouTube to go and find a series on how to do salah. This person will be asked, why didn't you at least go and search? What was wrong with you? You could have searched. You were on YouTube all day, you went and watched kitten videos and you watched Marvel studio breakdown videos, but you couldn't spare 5 minutes to go and learn about your salah? These things will be asked, brothers and sisters. And you'll be asked in a way that is commensurate with each and every single person's shakin, your disposition, your resources, your time and place that you were born into. Here in the West, maybe you don't have as much resources to learn the correct path as someone who's sitting in Haram, where everybody is a scholar around them, and even the people who are beggars on the streets, they're quoting to you hadith. Yes? Everybody will be judged differently. But that doesn't mean that I don't try my best. That doesn't mean that I don't go and come into the company of the ulama and I ask more questions, and I ask them, am I doing my salah correctly? Brothers and sisters, do you have ulama here in Plano, in Dallas? You don't have to go to Ayatollah Sistani's books and read chapters and chapters and chapters of am I doing these little nitpicky things correct? Find a scholar and ask him, hey, 2 minutes, can you just go and critique my salah? 2 minutes, can you just see if I got the correct understanding of Hajj before I go and blast a money cannon at the Saudis and I go and do Hajj and I come back and I maybe did it wrong? I want to do it right. Do it right the first time or keep on redoing it. Brothers and sisters, why do you think so many people have to go and redo their salah in barzakh? Remember when we were talking about the life in barzakh, where an angel might come to you and his clipboard says, hey man, you're missing like 50,000 salat. What are you waiting for? Let's go, start. You're waiting for, what do you think is going to happen? That all of these things are just going to be let go? We'll come to this, why they won't be let go, tomorrow when we're talking about intercession. And when we finally clarify what is shafa'ah and intercession, and who qualifies for intercession, what does that look like? All of these things come together and they mesh together to give us one solid picture. If we have some other kind of idea, oh yeah, I think they're just going to come and take care of me. I don't have to go and worry about what I have to do in this world. I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but it's better that I burst your bubble now than you go over there without any deeds and now your bubble is burst. Oh my God, I thought that Ahlul Bayt would take care of me. I would just keep on going to the bars, except for on the 10th of Muḥarram, and I would drink and this and party and whatever, and one tear of Abdullah would go and save me. No. Analyze those hadith. What kind of sins do they take care of? Dhunub, small sins. Big sins are still there. Drinking is a big sin. So brothers and sisters, let's walk away from this with the idea of, if I just act on what I do know, this is how much I know of salah, maybe it's 5% of the real salah, but I'm acting on it as best as I can. Allah will teach you so that now you know 6% of the real salah, 10% of the real salah, 20%, 50%, 70%, 100%. Then, as you've been slowly taking out these small mistakes and elevating your salah, elevating your other deeds, slowly but surely Allah will guide you along this path of Salatul Mustaqim. And that's why, brothers and sisters, when you come to these nights and we're commemorating personalities, tonight, inshallah, we'll be looking at someone very young. Young like you guys. Who you might think, I didn't really have all that kind of time in the world. Do I need 78 years so that I can finally come to these stations of how to go and make a salah perfect? Or do I have examples where people were able to achieve this, the basics, right? 5th grade status of salah, right? And now they can go and start working on their mental ascension towards Allah. Is this possible even at a younger age? Yes, brothers and sisters. Tonight we're going to be looking at the personality of Ali al-Akbar, the son of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. After all of the companions of Imam al-Hussein had died, had gone in the way of Allah, and they had made their final journey towards the enemy, Ali ibn Hussein, the son of Imam al-Hussein, known as Ali al-Akbar, came to his father and he showed that bravery. He said, "Let me be the first of those who come and defend you on the battlefield from the Hashemites, from Banu Hashim." Ali al-Akbar was seen throughout this journey towards Karbala, when Imam Hussein said that you all have been decreed that death was written for you. Ali al-Akbar said, "Oh father, are we not on haqq? Look at this youth. What is his priority? Does he care that, am I going to be able to live a long life, make money, try all of the different cool things in this world? Or is it that I am with the Imam of my time?" He says to his Imam, to his father, "Are we not on haqq?" This is what we as youth should be asking. So that our role model, Ali al-Akbar, we take lessons from him. So that he's happy with us as well. Imam Hussein says, "Yes, Ya Bunay, we are on the haqq. There's no doubt about that." He says, "Then what do we have to worry about? Let death even come to us." And when we looked at death the previous night, death is sweeter than honey. Death is a bridge from one house to another. There's no pain for the moment. There's nothing to be scared of. You look forward to it, because now those perpetual things, all those things that you had been trying, they will become actualized in the barzakh. Ali al-Akbar was so happy that if he was going to have to die, it was at least going to be at the side of his father, Imam Hussein. How many of us can confidently say that if we were to die, we'd be dying for the right cause, or for the cause of the Imam? This is why these nights of revolution, they are to gear you towards becoming soldiers of Imam al-Mahdi. Ali al-Akbar, on the morning of Karbala, the morning of the 10th of Muḥarram, has the duty of waking everybody up and calling everybody towards Salat al-Fajr. And he recites the adhan that day. And he comes with the most beautiful adhan, reminding, hopefully, the people on the other side of Yazid's army, where are you going? Look at the face of Ali al-Akbar. It even reminds you of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and his conduct, his actions, his mannerisms, all of these things bring you back towards Rasulullah. Ali al-Akbar, as we see, he comes towards his father after all of the companions had died, and says to his father, "Let me be the first to go on your path and sacrifice myself for you." Ali al-Akbar goes towards the battlefield after he gets the permission of his mother, Layla. He goes, and one of the people on the side of Umar ibn Sa'ad calls out to him and says, "From your mother's side, from Layla's side, there is a relation between you of blood. There's a blood relation between you and Yazid. If you want, you can come over to our side and we will give you amnesty." He comes and says that my relationship with Rasulullah is much more worthy of being honored than this relationship with Abu Sufyan. Take your relationship with Abu Sufyan and keep it to yourself. He comes out into the battlefield and he starts reciting the lines, "Ana Ali ibn al-Husayn ibn Ali, nahnu wa baytillah awla bin nabi." I am the son of I am Ali, the son of Hussein, the son of Ali. We, by Allah, are more closer to the Prophet of Allah than who? Ali Akbar. Min Umarin wa Shibrin wabna, the son of illegitimacy. Wabna da'i. Tallahi la yahkum fina ibn da'i. I swear by Allah, the son of the illegitimate will never have hukuma over us. Layla makes a dua. She says to Imam Hussein alayhi salam, is there any way that you can see if Ali al-Akbar can come back? She was studying the complexion of Imam Hussein's face to see how is Ali al-Akbar doing. Ali al-Akbar, as he would, kill an enemy of Allah, Imam Hussein would become happy. As he would become defeated, or someone would come and hit him, Imam Hussein would become sad. As she sees Imam Hussein become sad, she says to Allah, Ya Radd Yusuf ala Yaqub, Rudd alayya bunay. O you, my master, who returned Yusuf to Yaqub, return my son to me one last time. Ali al-Akbar comes back to the tents. He says his final farewell to his mother, and then he goes for the final time into the Maidan. He goes into the battlefield. At this moment, as he keeps on reciting this, one of the people on the side of Umar bin Sa'ad gets so angry that he is exposing the generals over there, and he is exposing how wrong they are. He says, I swear by Allah, if he keeps on reciting this, I will go and deal with him myself. He keeps on reciting this and defeating more and more people. That first time before he came back, he had defeated 120 people. By the time that the person who would come and kill him had come, he had defeated 200 people from the army of Umar bin Sa'ad. That person finally comes towards him, and he comes and strikes him with a lance, with a huge spear into the side of Ali al-Akbar. Ali al-Akbar starts to fall from his horse, and he goes and waves his hand towards Abu Abdullah, towards Imam Hussein, and he starts saying, Alayka minni salam ya abata. From me I send my salam to you, O my father. Hada jaddi. This is my grandfather Rasulullah. He is coming to me from the barzakh and telling me that this is your glass of water. I know you are thirsty. Quench your thirst. And he also has a message for you, O Aba Abdullah. The message is, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. And come quickly towards us. We are missing you. Do not delay your coming towards us. As Ali al-Akbar was falling towards the grounds of Karbala, we find that from the tents of the women, Zainab comes out and she launches herself onto the body of Ali al-Akbar and she starts crying, Oh my dear Ali al-Akbar, oh my nephew, what have they done to you? By the time that she had gotten there, what did she see? She sees that they started mutilating the body of Ali al-Akbar. She sees that they had gone and really dishonored the body of Ali al-Akbar. She says, how could they do this to the beautiful face of Ali al-Akbar? When we wanted to see the face of Rasulullah, we would look towards him. Imam Hussein takes Zainab's hand and brings her back to the tents. Then Imam Hussein tells the cousins of Ali al-Akbar, the sons of Hassan, the sons of Ali ibn Abi Talib, the sons of Muslim ibn Aqil, bring Ali back so that he can be buried here in our tents. Afterwards, what does Imam Hussein say? He says, after this, it's as if all of life has turned to ash. There's no worth to life anymore. Imam Hussein alayhi salam is completely broken when he sees the state of Ali al-Akbar and how they treated him. And he says that may Allah curse those people who killed my son in this way. And many of those people immediately at that moment dropped down dead. And so many people saw that the dua of Imam Hussein was immediately answered, and they started to question themselves. And some of them came towards the side of Imam Hussein. Ala la'natullahi ala al-qawm al-zalimin. وَسَيَعْلَمُ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا أَيَّ مُنْقَلَبٍ يَنْقَلِبُونَ وَالْعَاقِبَةُ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. Raise your hands, brothers and sisters, in the dua. For our duas in these nights with our tears have mustajab. status, where they can be answered. Brothers and sisters, keep in mind all of your marhumin, those who died before you. Inshallah, we are going to be following them. Death is coming for us all. Keep them in your du'as so that those who come after you can also keep you in their du'as. Keep your hajat, your sick ones, your dunya and akhirah needs as we recite the blessed ayah of the Quran 5 times. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Amma yujibul mudtarra idha da'a wa yakshifu as-su'. Together, everybody. Amma شفاء المرضى عما يجيبون لإطفاء الحوائج عما يجيبون لتعجيل الفرج عما يجيبون. Oh Allah, we ask you through your holy righteous names, بسمك العظيم الأعظم الأعز الأكرم 10 times, Ya Allah, 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 Ya إلهي بفاطمة وأبيها وبعلها وبنيها والسر المستودع فيها اكشف عنا السوء يا الله. اللهم اغفر ذنوبنا كفر عنا سيئاتنا وتوفنا مع الأبرار مع محمد وآله الأطهار. اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج واجعلنا من أنصاره وأعوانه والمستشهدين بين يديك